The Truman Show, directed by Peter Weir, is about a man named Truman, played by Jim Carrey, who has secretly starred in his own reality television show since birth. The town where he lives in is filled with thousands of cameras, and everyone in his life is actually an actor. Truman does not know this until he begins to discover the truth over the course of the film and grows wary of his surroundings and relationships. Due to the immense popularity of his own show, Truman has become the world's biggest celebrity. By applying Dyer's star theory and Pryluck's The Ethics of Documentary Filmmaking to The Truman Show, this video will argue how the creators of the films The Truman Show unethically constructed Truman's star image in order to sell products and feelings solely to make profit. Dyer states that all celebrities have star images that are actually fake versions of themselves fabricated for specific purposes. Through these personas, the stars are able to sell products and ideas to their audiences. My argument will mainly focus on these specific points of Dyer's theory, how star images are constructed through multiple factors, and how these stars are able to use their images to sell feelings as well as products to their fans. Because Truman does not know that he is on live television, his star image should be completely raw and accurate. However, that is not the case because the makers of the show have been manipulating his own life since his childhood. In order to make sure Truman cannot leave town, they formulate and carry out the death of his father while in a storm out at sea. This trauma ensures that Truman is too scared of the sea to leave the island. The creators use unethical tactics like these to ensure they can control Truman and the show. The makers of the show will do anything to ensure that Truman stays on his island. When Truman sets off to escape with a boat, overcoming his fear of the water, they create a storm to try and stop him.
Give me some lightning. Again. Hit him again.
And when Truman won't give up, the director of the show, Christoph, played by Ed Harris, basically says he will do anything it takes to make him stay, even if that means killing him.
God's sake, Chris. The whole world is watching. We can't let him die in front of a live audience. He was born in front of a live audience.
The idea behind The Truman Show is probably the most unethical part about it. Filming someone 24/7 for their entire lives without their knowledge or consent is the highest violation of privacy possible. In his The Ethics of Documentary Filmmaking, Pryluck talks about how the right to privacy is the right to decide how much, to whom, and when disclosures about oneself are to be made. Obviously, Truman has zero privacy ever. Even in his most private moments, he is never alone. What's even more disturbing is the fact that they created a false world for Truman, meaning his entire life has been a complete lie. Everyone he has ever seen, whether that be a stranger on the street or his own wife, is acting. So Truman really thinks that this is his real life. For him, at least, it is.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I'm sure most people in the film that watched The Truman Show realize how unethical it and its treatment of Truman is. However, only a minority of people fight against it. While the majority knows it's wrong, they can't help but keep watching and supporting the show because it's so entertaining. Christoph tries to justify the show by saying,
I have given Truman the chance to lead a normal life. The world, the place you live in, is the sick place. Sea Haven is the way the world should be.
The makers of The Truman Show use all of these and other practices that are even more immoral in order to build his star image. Pryluck also mentions that film crews often do not tell people that they're being filmed in order to create authenticity. While this makes sense, The Truman Show cannot use this to justify their actions because Truman's star persona is not authentic at all. Truman is a regular man living a typical American dream type life. He lives in a small beach town with his loving wife, greets his neighbors every day, has a stable office job, and is friendly to the whole town. However, all of these factors are completely artificial. Presenting Truman with this perfect environment to live in contributes to his star image, which is that he is a relatable, happy, emotional, and extremely likable man. Another part of this image is also that viewers often feel sympathy for Truman. More so, the Truman's producers plan out exactly what to do with Truman's life. They insert and take away specific actors in order to advance what they want Truman's life to be like. For example, after his wife Meryl, played by Laura Linney, decides to leave the show, it's obvious that his new co-worker is supposed to become his new love interest. The most obvious example of this manipulation is forcibly removing Sylvia from the set because they could tell Truman was more attracted to her than who they wanted to be Truman's love interest, Meryl. The creators of the show have the power to control Truman and his life in any way they want. They sent him on a work trip overseas to see if his fear of the ocean is still there. They pretend to have his mother become sick so Truman wouldn't go after Sylvia, and they conveniently time the perfect moment for characters to show up. All of this is done to not only make Truman stay on the island so they can continue running the show, but to also formulate his star image. Controlling the characters and situations around him forces Truman to act in certain ways. The show also replays his most vulnerable moments to the audiences to remind them of the tragedies in his life. We can see viewers feeling sympathy for Truman during these flashbacks. Christof takes these emotional moments and makes them even more dramatic for the viewers. In the scene where they reintroduce Truman's father, that was thought to be dead for 20 years, we can see Christof directing the scene.
My son. Oh. Move him for closer. No. Fade up music. And now going close. Oh, years wasted. I'll make it up to you, son. I swear.
The moving music, along with a close-up of Truman crying in this scene, really resonates with the audiences and portrays Truman as a regular, vulnerable man. There are multiple other scenes that use camera decisions to do the same thing. When watching Truman in these touching situations, viewers can't help but feel for him, whether those feelings are cheerful or somber. They see him as someone they can relate to or feel sympathy for. The show sets up Truman to be an extremely nice man. While it may seem like it's just Truman's character that he is this way, it's only due to the fact that everyone around him is also so friendly to him. Because of this perfect engineered world he lives in, Truman has no reason to be rude to anyone. Truman always smiling, joking, and being polite heightens the persona of him being so amiable to his viewers. Truman's image is interesting because while in public, he's so positive and enthusiastic, but when we see him alone, specifically when he's thinking about Sylvia, we see the more sad side to him. Although he's physically alone in these scenes, the reasons for his sadness have all been caused by the show's workers. So it's obvious that what Dyer says in his star theory is at play in The Truman Show. Truman's star image was constructed by a range of factors. Now, I will talk about the other aspect of the star theory that heavily resonates within this film, that stars' images are used to not only sell products, but also feelings to the public. Essentially, the show is using Truman to make profit. Dyer states that stars are images in media text, and as such are products of Hollywood, or wherever. In this way, the show's makers view Truman as a product, something that they can make money off of. They use Truman and the popularity of his show to do this.
Since the show is on 24 hours a day without commercial interruption, all those staggering revenues are generated by product placement.
In the film, we see a great deal of product placement in the show. When Truman is outside, there's always an advertisement somewhere in the frame. But the other main actors of the show, Meryl and Marlon, who is played by Noah Emmerich, specifically promote certain products using clearly scripted lines given to them.
Why don't you let me fix you some of this new Mococo drink? All natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mountain Nicaragua, no artificial sweeteners.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
I've tasted other Cocos. This is the best.
Additionally, Kristoff states that everything you see on the show is for sale, from the actors' wardrobe, food products, to the very homes they live in. Buying items that are found in the show gets those consumers to feel like they are a part of the Truman Show. While stars selling products to their fans is something that's fairly obvious and common, Dyer's star theory poses a more interesting idea, which is that stars also sell emotions and ideas to their audience through their image and promotion. Truman, and especially the other main characters of the show, his wife Meryl and his best friend Marlon, never have any major conflicts in their lives, so they're always so happy. Or in Meryl and Marlon's case, they're at least acting happy on camera. Because they always seem so content on the show, people think that if they buy the products they use and promote, they will feel the same way. Throughout the show, Meryl is joyful and smiling the majority of the time, which creates her as having an extremely happy persona. Even when nervous, she still smiles. And when promoting a product, she always smiles to show how satisfied she is with it. If Meryl is pleased with a product, you will be too. And since Meryl is always happy, the product she endorses will make you feel just as happy as she is. Through Truman's star image, everyone is obsessed with him and the show. The film shows many children, adults, and families enjoying the show alongside their Truman merchandise. People love Truman. They watch him for his entire life, or they watch him for their entire lives. Buying his merchandise makes his fans feel more connected to him, although Truman has no clue and the creators are the only ones making money off of this. Ultimately, the show uses Truman and his popularity to make profit, even though it's highly unethical. They've been exploiting him ever since he was a baby. They use corrupt tactics in order to build his star image, and then use this image to sell products and feelings to Truman's fans. Both Pryluck's The Ethics of Documentary Filmmaking and Dyer's star theory help strengthen these arguments. Even though Truman eventually escapes the set, his life will never be the same because of this immorality he went through on the show.
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.